Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself. Oh, and if you don't mind, like, subscribe, comment. And I've got a link tree down below that's got my social media, and it has my Patreon if you want to help out. Thank y'all. Here's a review of The Partisan, The Life of William Rehnquist. John Jenkins wrote this book. Now, in all honesty, I didn't know much about John Jenkins beforehand. He's president and publisher emeritus of CQ Press. He's had work that's appeared in New York Times Magazine, GQ, The Washington Monthly, and American Lawyer. He's four-time recipient of the American Bar Association's Gavel Award Certificate of Merit, one of the highest awards in legal journalism. This book, I could tell that he was a little bit liberal, but at the same time, Rehnquist was completely on the right-hand side of the political spectrum. And while I consider myself pretty far right because I'm a minarchist, some of this guy's stances were a little too much for even me. Rehnquist, that is, not Jenkins. But this was an interesting book. It filled me in on somebody that I only barely paid attention to. I mean, I knew who he was. By the time I was old enough to know what was going on, Rehnquist was already the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But this really filled in some blanks on stuff that I had never known about him. So it made me understand his court a little bit better. So let's get into this book a little bit. Rehnquist came from up north, even though he was considered, when Nixon was doing it, he considered it a Southern choice. Yeah, at the time he was living in Arizona, but he was from outside Milwaukee. He was raised pretty conservative, fought in World War II. Well, he was in the Army Air Force in World War II. He didn't actually fight in that sense. He got stationed in North Africa later in the war, came out in 1946. And then he started his legal career. Man, did this man have a life. I have to give it to him. This man had an interesting life. And then he got into law, became pretty conservative. I think he was already conservative, but he became pretty conservative. He pushed Barry Goldwater to the more racist side of things, which wasn't good. And then he ended up becoming part of Nixon's presidency with the Department of Justice. And that's what got him the chance to become a justice on the Supreme Court, which, he did. He was very conservative. That's the only way to put it. He didn't believe that criminals should have all the rights that they have. He didn't believe that there was any discrimination, even though he himself said some pretty racist things in his lifetime. But it wasn't like he treated anybody different. It pretty much was, he treated everybody the same. Didn't necessarily mean that was always a good thing. I like how Thurgood Marshall knew that he was having fun during one of the court rulings on the Supreme Court. And then he became Chief Justice because Ronald Reagan wanted to have two people, so he moved Rehnquist up and brought in Scalia. Rehnquist, though, lost his wife not long after that, and the court became his life. And he stayed on probably a little longer than he needed to. He was working beside his friend Sandra Day O'Connor. Both he and she went and her husband went to college together at Stanford. He's an interesting person. I don't know what to make of him, though. I really don't. But he is an interesting person. So if you get a chance, you should read this book. Now, look, I try to pick, I don't put books on here that I won't suggest that you read. I have read books gone and about chapter or two in, knowing full well, because you can tell by chapter or two whether this person is not that bright. But I honestly believe you should pick up this book if you don't know much about William Rehnquist. It will explain how he voted. It will explain while he ran the Supreme Court. It will explain quite a bit. It really will. So if you get a chance, pick this book up. It's not a must read or anything like that, but it's a fun read. It gives you a little bit of history into the Supreme Court. Explains some things in the more modern terms of the court. But yeah, I think John Jenkins did a good job with this book. So if you get a chance, pick it up and read it. Like I said, it's not a must read, but it's a pretty interesting read. Folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're conservative, I don't care if you're liberal, I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.